Now, how do we cultivate the leaders of tomorrow from the earliest stages of development? The research underscores the importance of early childhood education, revealing that the first 5 years are critical in setting the groundwork for lifelong learning, behavior, and health. Up next, we're turning our attention to a topic that resonates with the very foundation of leadership and growth, from little seeds to great leaders, unleashing potential in the early years. To take this discussion forward, let's give a big round of applause to Zoe Madewell, the founder and CEO of Musicology Lab, and our esteemed panelists. Welcome.
Brace yourself. We are going to wake you up. Crank it up back there. Let's go. Stand up. Stand up and welcome my panel, y'all. Put your hands together. It's a dangerous world. If you have dealt with little ones, it's a dangerous world. Who here has felt the danger? Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you all so much. We are so excited. I promise you, it doesn't matter how many people are in this room. Each one of you is going to leave with something you're going to carry away that's going to transform how you look at education, especially those little seeds. I'm honored to introduce my esteemed panel. What we're going to do, I'm humbled and grateful to be on the stage with each one of them, getting to know them. You're going to get a taste of them in just a minute. Without further ado, let's start. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Heidi Kasevich, and I serve as the Certification Program Director at the Gardner Carney Leadership Institute. And I run a program that trains faculty in our pedagogy of leadership, which combines brain science, social and emotional intelligence, leadership studies, cultural competency, and developmental psychology. That's a mouthful. The GCLI stands firmly on the belief that teachers can unleash the potential of their students through intentional leadership education, and that leadership is a practice and habit of mind that can be taught at any age. I also serve as leadership educator and executive coach at my own company, Case Leadership, which is a mission-driven organization committed to fostering temperament-inclusive cultures where people of diverse personality styles can thrive. Through professional development workshops, keynote presentations, and executive coaching, Case Leadership facilitates the courageous conversations needed to create communities of belonging where introverts are as valued as their extroverted counterparts for their potential to learn and to lead.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you so much. And going down, Tom.
Hi, I'm Tom, Dr. Tom, Dr. Tom Heemstra. My company is called Mach 5, and I'm an executive coach and consultant. But I call it Mach 5 because, well, that music was in my honor there. It's Highway to the Danger Zone, right? So I was a former F 16 fighter pilot and then F 16 fighter squadron commander after that, in charge of 30 to 35 elite fighter pilots. So I have 15 combat missions myself. And then I started my company to help everybody achieve their dreams. So when I was 10 years old, I wanted to be a fighter pilot. That dream came true. And that's what I do, is try to help everybody reach their maximum potential, businesses and individuals. So I'm here at your service. I'd love to spend more time with you and talk to you about it. My PhD is in strategic leadership. So we focus on transformational leadership and servant leadership, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But those are the keys, I think, to changing the world, turning the world upside down, because uh, as you've seen from the newspaper reports, 80% of Americans think we're going in the wrong direction. 70, 80%, whatever poll you look at, in businesses, their employees are disengaged, disenfranchised, disappointed, right?
No, no, he's just introducing himself. Don't worry, we're so excited.
And so anyway, that's what we're here to do, is help you guys achieve your dreams, achieve your goals, and turn the world upside down by you becoming all that you were meant to be.
Thank you, Tom. And can we honor Tom and all servicemen around the world and those here with us. Thank you, Tom, for your service. And now let's move down. Desiree.
Hi, folks. I'm Desiree Delzio, Dr. Delzio. I am the CEO and founder of DE&C Consulting. That is Determine, Educate, and Change. My team of consultants goes around the country and work with education leaders to determine their successes and gaps, to educate folks in their teams on how to leverage those successes to bridge their gaps, and change organizations into the most thriving places where children, staff, and families can build the dreams that they want to become lifelong learners. I have a master's degree in leadership with a focus on nonprofit management. So the majority of organizations that I work with are nonprofit. I have a doctoral degree in education with a focus on organizational development and leadership. So leadership is my focus, my passion. So the work that I do is really designed to support agencies across the nation in really building their own personal leadership development while bringing their teams along with them. I have a small but exciting team of folks that are doctoral level and really work to support programs across the nation. Our focus is on early childhood, so the 0 to 5 world. I started in education about 35 years ago as a teacher and have done a number of roles since then. The last 15 years have been with Head Start programs across the nation. So we are collecting funds from the federal government and safeguarding them to support children and families that are disenfranchised in our communities. About 8 years ago, I started working for central office in Washington, D.C., and worked with the writers of the laws for Head Start programming, and went around the country and met with about 400 different agencies. That's about 25% of the organizations in this country, and saw all the most amazing ways of doing this work and all the things that get you in trouble. So the work that I do is to support great work and mitigate risk and challenge.
Thank you, Heidi. Marianne.
Hi,
I'm sorry.
I'm Mary Jane Sander. I'm a practicing teacher, and I work for the Institute for Sociocognitive and Neurosemantic Language Learning. I have my master's in neuroeducation, which is a combination of neurobiology, cognitive psychology, and language. And I have a autistic, intellectually disabled 22-year-old, so I have a very large passion for bringing language to children who are underserved, and mostly for those youngest learners. I teach kindergarten through 3rd grade special education.
Wonderful. Let's now take a moment to talk about how we are here to talk about the little seeds and how to turn them into great leaders. Heidi's going to kick it off with a question I'm going to ask her, but before I do that, how many of you are introverts in the room? Oh, they're slowly raising their hands for those of you not watching. This is going to really, really excite you because Heidi has written a book, and brace yourself, introverts around the world. It's called Silent Talk, Setting the Stage for Introverts to Thrive. I can't wait to have her hear more about what made you write this book and give all of the introverts listening and those who work with introverts and neurodivergent students like all of us, how can we learn from your book and what inspired you to write it?
Thank you so much, Zoe. I'm thrilled to be able to talk to you about this book today. It is forthcoming, so I'm just putting the finishing touches on the manuscript. Today constitutes a day where I'm actually leaving my book cave, and it's lovely to be here all with you. So my work with students, faculty, and parents across the nation shows that we tend to associate a leader with someone who is extroverted, daring, alpha, gregarious, and bold. He takes charge rather than takes care. He gives orders rather than listens to others. Our introverted students, Well, they often end up feeling as if they do not have leadership potential because they're not inclined to be loud or outgoing, to love the podium, or to be in control. They often feel misjudged, misunderstood, or overlooked in our schools today across the nation. So, the aim of my book, Silent Talk, is to provide research based strategies and tools for K through university level educators to foster teaching and learning communities where introverts and extroverts are recognized for their potential to learn and lead in authentic ways. I define a temperament inclusive classroom as one characterized by a balance between collaborative work on the one hand and independent work on the other, group work and solitude. It's one that prizes deep listening and writing as varied forms of classroom engagement. As we cultivate a culture of quiet in our schools, we actually honor the learning styles of a third to a half of our student population who are more likely to fall on the introverted side of the introvert extrovert spectrum. So, in section 1, Fostering Respect for Temperament Diversity, you will learn about the biochemistry that leads you to self declare as more introverted or more extroverted, the strengths that correlate with the introverted or extroverted temperament, and ways to flex your style in the name of a core personal project. And then go back to who you are and do some good recharging. There was a study by Quiet Revolution, Susan Cain's Quiet Revolution, which is where I used to work. And we partnered with the Values in Action Institute. And we discovered something very interesting. We discovered that the introverted temperament has a very strong correlation with the character strength humility. By the way, there are about 24 character strengths according to positive psychology. In terms of leadership, I am a humility fan. And when it comes to our youngest kids, lower school, middle school, they think that humility means weakness, a lack of self esteem. But I want to set the record straight. A quiet ego is an indication of a healthy self esteem, one that acknowledges one's own limitations and yet has a firm sense of self-worth and value, transcending the self without losing the self. I love that quotation. A humble leader works to harness input from everyone, admits they don't have all the answers, seeks constructive feedback, and credits others. In fact, it was former Senior Vice President of Google, Senior Vice President of People Operations at Google, Laszlo Bock, who decreed that humility was what he was looking for in new hires because humble leaders enable team members to feel included, which is a direct link to innovation. And the energy that can be ignited in organizations with humble leadership is dramatic. Research reveals that humble leaders can create cultures in schools in which teachers are more satisfied with their jobs, students attain higher test scores, and discipline problems decline. In section 2, Creating Introvert-Friendly Classrooms, you explore research-based techniques to foster the engagement and creativity of introverted students and harness the productivity and creativity of mixed temperament teams. So it's introverts and extroverts together. Incredible synergies can occur. So the following story I'd like to share reveals how one faculty member encouraged his colleagues to incorporate introvert-inclusive language when writing narrative reports about students. To paraphrase one of the many interviewees for this book, it was the tyranny of the verbal participation grade that compelled him to take action. Participation grades, by the quantity of speech, are often about 50% of a student's grade. He says, in narrative comments, I noticed that we used expressions like, even though you never participate in class, or I'd like to see you raise your hand more, or when you work with a group, you need to be more of a leader. This educator worked with his faculty to highlight the strengths of introverts in written comments, came up with quiet anchor comments, sentence starters that put some of the great strengths of introverts in the fore. And he also thought that participation could be expanded, right, to include one-on-one conversations after class, emails to the teacher, clarifying questions. I mean, there's so many different ways one can engage in a classroom environment. What we do not want is to lose any opportunity to foster engagement in our classrooms. So a couple of his quiet anchor comments. Stefan is deliberate in his thoughts and actions, takes time to offer thoughtful reflections, and perseveres in his work. Georgiana is an innovative thinker who thrives during independent tasks. Zamir leads by listening to others, empowering others to do the same. And then finally, in section 3, you will learn the importance of solitude in our noisy, distracted world. I've called this section Rescuing Solitude, as well as ways you can be a change agent in creating quiet spaces in your classrooms, your cafeterias, your faculty rooms, and even on your school grounds. I can tell you I was in the classroom for over 20 years. There was always one place I could go to recharge, and that was the ladies' room. It was nonstop action. And so we have to remember that with a heightened sensitivity to social and sensory stimuli, the introverts really need time to restore their energy. When I think of the human being as like a battery, it gets drained. It's possible that an overstimulated introvert can retreat to the sidelines, turn inward, or literally shut down. That is not going to be an engaged child in your classroom. So knowing when alone time is crucial. I'm a big fan of one strategy. I call it the quiet energy management calendar. Think of your time management calendar. This is an energy management calendar. And so we can teach our students at the youngest of ages possible to set out blocks of time where they know that they can have some quiet time. I mean, there's incredible research on the power of daydreaming and its links to creativity, just walking in nature, just thinking. So I highly recommend that. And energy management calendar, it's the non-negotiable times that can become the recharging times.
Thanks.
Finally, can I mention one thing about quiet spaces? So there was one school I worked with, it's featured in the book, about cafeteria times. I mean, lunch times can be really incredibly overwhelming for the introverted third to a half of our population. So the teacher cites, like many elementary schools, lunchtime is nothing short of hectic. For 4 periods in a row, there's booming acoustics, whistles, and microphones are needed to keep things under control. So what you did, a very simple solution, called it peaceful lunch, created a corner of the cafeteria, covered the tables with butcher block paper, had some crayons, some calming glitter jars. This peaceful lunch became like a sensation in the school. There was a waiting list. For the first time, over 400 people signed up for this peaceful lunch. So I just want to end on the notion of like the importance of quiet for introverts and extroverts alike. We know we are living in an incredibly noisy, busy world. And so I want to quote one of my favorite humanist psychologists, Scott Barry Kaufman, who says, "The mind must have the space to settle down if it is to come up with the insights that make for creative work." So thank you.
Wow. Let's clap. Let's make our hands up. Thank you so much. That was amazing. Thank you so much. And if we don't have time for questions at the end, because I know we're going a bit over here, please approach the wonderful speakers on the stage afterwards and meet them and collaborate with them for questions. Tom, we can't wait to hear you.
Okay. Highway to the danger zone, right?
That's right.
All right. Thank you to Paul in the back with the technology and all the staff here that helps make this work. We'll see you. Ready? Oh, from little seeds to greatness. I'll go back. And then realize was there already. All right. Mach 5 Quantum Leadership. That's my company. That's my office. There we go. From little seeds to great leaders. Potentiality. So when I talk about quantum leadership, that's the cool thing. Quantum leadership is the world of potentiality. Quantum, the world of potentiality. It's not just, possibility that you could achieve your dreams. It's potentiality and reaching your max potential. So that's what we're all about. Like I said, that's my office over the desert in the F-16. So breaking barriers. So the sound barrier, Mach 1, my company's Mach 5. What's the next barrier that we need to break through? What's all these seminars that are going on in all these ballrooms, education, internet, leadership? We're all trying to solve problems. So what's those barriers that are holding us back? And so you need to understand high performance and how do we create high performance teams. And that starts with the seeds of dreams. Paradigms. So two meanings there, right? Paradigms. And it's our mental mindset. So what we're talking about with quantum leadership is a quantum world. So, Isaac Newton sat under the tree, the apple fell, hit him on the head. He said, "Oh, I think that's gravity. It must be gravity." So we learned a lot about gravity. We learned a lot about the Newtonian world. And even in these seminars, you'll hear people talking about there's a formula. Here's a formula for how we get where we want to go. Well, our formulas aren't working anymore because we're beyond a Newtonian world. And we have to progress to what's next. And Albert Einstein realized what that was. He called it weird science at a distance, and he was talking about the quantum world. So takes a new thinking, and the other cool thing, it's on the leading edge. So it's what's coming. It's what we need to start thinking about the way we think, and that's of course critical in education. So the quantum world, like I said, Newtonian gravity, it creates chaos. Has anybody noticed that there's a little bit of chaos in our educated world, right? In the world of education, in Washington, D.C., a little bit of chaos there. It's because the old thinking doesn't work. And, if you know a little bit about physics and the second law of thermodynamics, that everything progresses towards increasing randomness or entropy. So that's the chaos that we see. That's why trees lose their leaves. That's why cars rust, right? It's entropy. So new science is quantum, it's potentiality, and it thrives on chaos. So amidst all this chaos that we're seeing in Washington, D.C., or in our education system, or with artificial intelligence coming, amidst that, we can thrive on it, and that's opportunities for quantum leaders. It's the transilient zone. I call it the transilient zone. So it's a world of illumination of insights of things that we didn't know before. We didn't know that there's a quantum world out there, but it's like Mike on the ball court, right? On the basketball court, when he throws up the shot, behind his back, twirls around, kicks it off the back of his heel, and it goes in the basket, right? And he's running down the court with his tongue in the side of his face and just, he's in the zone, right? And so that's what the transilient zone is for quantum and performance. So just think of that picture for where we want you to go. So we're talking about change, right, with innovation. And so this is a big ship that needs to turn around. It's going to take transformational change. And you hear that term misused all the time. Like this is going to be a transformational bridge that we build here. Or, this is a transformational budget for 2025. Or Buttigieg, they misuse transformation. So here's a good definition for my study on transformation. It's the rest of the story. First, it's relationship learning. How would that help us in our classrooms if we had way better relationships, even amongst the staff and educators, and with Washington, D.C. Experiential learning, many of you know about that. Service learning, a lot of schools and colleges are adapting service learning programs. But being in the military, how many veterans were there out there? One? Yeah, maybe just one. So we understand about service. And the guys come back from Iraq and, they're in the hospital with amputees and, they ask them, well, what are you going to do next? And they want to go back. They want to go back on the fighting line. It's because they're built to serve or they've learned to serve and they love serving. So that whole service learning thing is huge. And then the last one is truth, right? It's not your truth versus my truth or somebody else's truth. That's not truth. That's truth with a little t. But there is a truth with a big T. And if that was incorporated into our education and curriculum, it would go a long ways. So it's not just the content of what we teach. In this quick slide I'm just going to go through, but it's the culture. So we need a transformational cultural change in our country. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Anybody heard that? So it doesn't matter what we plan here today. It doesn't matter, the things that we think are going to work until we change the culture. Culture eats strategy and your tactics for breakfast. So leaders define culture. That's why you guys are here. Help us define culture, define reality. Leaders define reality. Leaders build culture, and leaders change culture. And best leaders engage at the heart level. And so that's that servant leadership that us folks in the military definitely understand. So dreams are the seeds of success, unleashing potential power, profits, passion, prosperity, and purpose propelled by dreams. Potentiality. This is a book that I have coming out here in the next couple months. So excited about that. It's called The Hypersonic Secret, and where we share quantum leadership with the world, and why you can put this science stuff, quantum, with the word leadership and make it a social science that we all need to know. So Mach 5, Hypersonic, the next barrier. And this is how you can get a hold of me. Speakers, seminar, coaches, mastermind we have, podcast. And please reach out. Thank you.
Let's clap for Tom. Quantum leadership. Take that home. Remember his book. Remember this beautiful man who is innovating educational leadership, which is why we're all here from all over the world. Let's move down. I'm going to actually ask Desiree a beautiful question. How do you use formal and informal evaluation systems to improve student, family, and staff performance?
That is a beautiful question. Thank you. First of all, I want to say, maybe you all have heard the expression, if you're the smartest person in the room, find another room.
Mm.
I feel very humbled to be sitting next to these folks. And I think that I have, as I shared with you, I've sort of gone all over the country, and I've worked with lots of different programs and organizations out there that are doing really great work. And they're trying to do things like create cultures of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. They are trying to understand their staff. They're trying to meet people where they are. And I hear people say these things all the time. But I wonder, do they really know how to meet people where they are? So they formally assess their staff, their children. This may look like standardized testing, children's outcomes, performance evaluations, observations in the classroom, all of these different formal techniques that we use to really try to understand our organizational platform and figure out, well, where are our challenges? And then they make assumptions about why those challenges exist. And they train and they build on those assumptions. What they don't do is conduct informal types of analysis and assessment of their organizations that pause to think about what is happening here in this classroom, in this center, in this school, in this district that is allowing this challenge to occur. We use the assumptions to build training techniques. We use these assumptions to decide what you need, and then we create and design a training around what we think you need. And then when we observe you again and we formally assess you again and we look at your children's outcomes, there's been no movement, and we wonder why our brilliant training didn't work. And it's because we are solving the wrong problem. And if you really want to know what a person's problem is, if you really want to meet them where they are, ask them. Ask them where they are. That's what we don't do. So taking our understanding of an organization and moving it into really reflecting on the root or analysis, the root cause, what is really happening here, requires more than standardized tests. It requires more than classroom observations. It requires more than children's outcomes. It requires what my colleagues have talked about, what the last panel talked about, really understanding the human experience. What's happening in these classrooms? What is the challenge? And so the types of activities that we can do to understand this are things like empathy interviews. Has anyone ever heard of an empathy interview? So this is an interview where I work with you and I try to understand how you feel about your work. Do you love it? Are there some days where you don't love it so much? Do you like me as your colleague or leader? Am I making your life miserable? Are there students in this classroom that push me outside of my comfort zone? Are they the reason why I don't want to come to work? When that parent is dropping their child off, am I looking at them cringing? Am I so happy when they don't come that day because it's going to be a good day? How do I feel about my job? There's also cognitive interviews. This is how people think about their work. And this is where we go in and we ask them, talk me through how you teach this lesson, this curriculum. Talk me through what this means to you. And we're not listening to them talk us through it so we can say, no, 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 that's not what you're supposed to do. We only listen to understand what they think. And when we do that enough times, we can find out that, wow, we have a whole bunch of people that think they're supposed to be doing this when they're not. We can do focus group discussions where we can bring people together. We can do surveys. We can do qualitative surveys. What we are looking for is getting away from 75% of the children in this classroom are meeting or exceeding their social emotional goals and 25% aren't. And so next year we're going to get to 80% and then we're going to be so much better. And that's how we assess ourselves. And we need to take a step back from that and start thinking more about what's happening in our environment. And typically, when we're looking at a root cause analysis, we are looking for 3 general gaps. Knowledge. Do people know what they need to know? And in education, and I'm just saying from my experience going around the country, that's where we stop. You don't know what you're supposed to know. I think this is what you need to know, and I'm going to keep telling you until you quit your job, and I can't understand why you quit your job. The second gap is going to be motivation. They are not inspired. They don't understand the why. They are not engaged with the work that they are doing. They're not engaged with the culture, with the environment. And the third is the organizational systems. So this is our structures and systems. Do we create our own barriers? Are we getting in our own way? And when we do empathy interviews and cognitive interviews and focus groups and discussions with our teams, and we really talk to our actual gatekeepers, like the people who are actually doing the work, we suddenly find out, oh, we're at 75% because of this. And these are the things I need to do differently. And in my experience, this is why folks don't do this. That's going to take too much time. Oh, so we have time to not meet the goals of our children. We have time to let them go to kindergarten and beyond not ready. But we don't have time to sit down and talk to them about what they need. So we can do everything that we want to do. We can put all kinds of things in place, but culture eats strategy for breakfast. So if we don't find out what people are eating, well, we can forget about change. So the work that I do is really going into organizations and helping them unearth what are these challenges that I am seeing, because most of the time organizations, I say, tell me what you do to evaluate your program, your outcomes, and they give me a lovely report. And it's got a bunch of bars on it. Maybe it even has color. It looks pretty fancy. And I'm like, oh, this is a really nice report you got. What does it mean? Well, it means that we're not doing as well over here than we are over here. Oh, yeah, I can see that. Why is that? Well, we think that it might be because of this. Well, we think it's this. We think perhaps, well, we're not sure, but we're guessing that. Okay, well, let's get sure. And that's the real work. So when we're talking about evaluation systems, we really have to think more broadly than the way we are now. So that's the kind of work that I do. I don't have a lovely slide with all of my stuff on it and all my information, but please do let me know if you want to talk about that a little bit more.
Can we put our hands together? Thank you so much, Desiree. Wow, wow. From quantum leadership to empathy interviews, if you have learned something today that you have not heard before that's innovative, can you say yes really loud? A little louder. There we go. We're waking up the crowd. And now I am thrilled, thrilled, thrilled to introduce Marianne. We've had incredible conversations, which all of us are here preparing for this. There's problems in our educational system, especially for neurodivergent learners. They are not being taught in the right way. We found solutions, and policy is stopping those solutions from happening. I have a question for you, Mary Jane. How do we facilitate language acquisition in the early years of elementary school?
Okay, so language as a neuroeducator is different from what a typical educator would think about it. Probably closer to what a speech and language therapist would think about it. Social language, the who, what, when, where, and why, all of these things that children think about. So we've been teaching the same way for 200 years now, and 200 years ago, we had 40% of the population were auditory learners. And now 5% of the population is auditory learners, and we're still teaching in an auditory manner, which is kind of a tragedy. So in my classroom, we are constantly talking and learning and looking at pictures and telling stories. And kind of organically out of that, we get reading and writing. And I don't necessarily specifically teach reading and writing, but we do a lot of work towards that. So for instance, if I'd like the children to learn about the zoo, a typical kindergarten teacher might take them to the zoo and then bring them back and then say, well, now tell me about the zoo. Well, my little autistic boy remembers the train because that's what he loves. And Sally over there remembers that she had ice cream because she loves ice cream. But they don't remember anything about the animals. So I would pre-teach all of that. We would pre-teach about animals. We would pre-teach about everything that we would be doing. We would draw about it. We would write about it. We'd tell stories about it. We'd act it out. Do all those little things that little tiny learners need. And then we'd go to the zoo. And when we came back, they would have huge stories to tell. So, I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about our little discussion.
Really quickly, just music, because we
Yeah.
are on a time frame. Talk
Okay.
about how music is being deprived from the children.
Yeah, so I have found that policies are changing, and we've decided that everybody learns the same. And we have all this inclusion, which I'm not opposed to inclusion, but we've decided that the general curriculum is fine for everybody. And there's no reason to have special classrooms. But several years ago, I did have a special classroom, and being a neurobiology like freak, I decided to learn more about trauma and the brain, and I learned a lot about trauma and the brain, and I learned a lot about rhythm and things that make the brain get back into sync. And so I went to the music teacher, and at that time, my students and then any other student in the school that was having trouble could go to a special music class, and she would teach differently. And so I went to her and I said, well, I've learned all this stuff about trauma in the brain. Do you know anything about this? And she said, I know all about this. I know I'm not allowed to teach it, but there's no curriculum for yours, so let's just do it. So we started incorporating all of this rhythm. I mean, Zoe could probably tell us a lot more about that. But we incorporated all these things, and lo and behold, reading and writing scores started to go up, 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 up. And I don't think I was doing anything different in the classroom. So then we found out that program was going to be cut. We took all this data, went to our administrators, and it was cut anyway. But anyway, we have a year of great data, and it was really wonderful.
And this just shows we're here to make change. We're here to make change fundamentally. When music is helping a child, which I'm going to close with mine, and then we're going to thank the panel, is that we need to not let policies stop us from helping the children, especially the neurodivergent. So that's what this conference is about. Thank you, Education 2.0, for bringing this panel together. Can we give them all a round of applause? Wow, incredible things to take away. I'm ready to do a quick PowerPoint, and then we have a group activity. If we could get my PowerPoint up in the back. While they're putting it up, I'm going to ask you a question. Who remembers, this is a science experiment, I'm going to get you a little bit involved. Who remembers the name of my learning system? Don't look at the slide. Just put your hand up. When she introduced me 20 minutes ago. Okay, one person. Here's a science experiment. The name of the learning system that I introduced to the world in Dubai, and I've been working on it for basically the last 30 years, is the Musicology Lab See It, Say It, Play It learning system. I said it rhythmically. Raise your hand if you think that because I said it rhythmically, you'll remember it better. Okay, good. Now we're going to do something else. I want you to help me out here because we're going to wake you up with your hands. I'm going to say, see it, and panel, help me out because you're all so great. See it, point to your eyes. Say it with me. Say it. Now play it and play a piano. Everybody say it. See it, say it, play it. Raise your hand if you think that putting a physical motion helps you remember it. Say yes. Decades of science agrees with you. Now here's something really fun. I'm going to need my great panelists to help with this, and you're going to move your feet. Stomp, stomp, clap. Stomp, stomp, clap. Do it on your table. Stomp, stomp, clap. Stomp, stomp. Everybody, stomp, stomp, clap. See it, say it, play it. Again, sing it with me. See it, say it, play it. Now, hands up. Who thinks that adding rhythm and singing helps you memorize what I have invented even more? Say yes. Welcome to the Musicology Lab See It, Say It, Play It learning system. Proven by decades of science, and I'm thrilled to be here. I'm going to go quickly through my slides. Imagine your child being able to play Beethoven on the piano and sing songs in a second language like Spanish, French, or Arabic. I am so thrilled to bring this program to the world. I launched it in Dubai last summer, it's my most popular program at my music school in Irving, Texas, where we have 600 students, and I wanted to prove its global ability to scale it. I went to Dubai expecting one school, and I got 5 preschools to purchase the program. Now I have a wait list because for the first time, music teachers and language teachers are coming together to revolutionize the way music and language are taught for future generations. Oops. So many benefits from cognitive development, from how children, the social and emotional learning of a child. We are rhythmic from the first beat of our heart. How many of you can read books? Hands up. Hands down. How many of you can read music? More of you than in Dubai. Good job, America. Every one of you did not raise your hand. That's a problem. On a global scale, I was blessed to go to Jaipur to teach at an underserved school. Those children don't have access to any music education. Music is the universal language of the world, and we are failing the next generation if we are not giving children a way to express themselves through music. I am so excited about the awards that I've won, that my program has won. This little boy on the right, 3 weeks ago, a beautiful little 5-year-old boy who was in my group piano class, won a global award, made history, beat 600 students for playing Fur-Elise on piano. Yes, thank you so much. But this little boy, he didn't win a global award. This little boy is so high on the autism scale that he's nonverbal. When he was 3 years old, no other music school in Dallas would take him, and I said yes. This little boy could not focus when he first came to the piano for even 15, 20 seconds. We had to put a high chair there. In 8 years, he's two hands together. Music is his language. He's playing better than his non-traditional learning peers. This little boy, the neurodivergent students that I work with on the autism spectrum, they are my real pride. A learning system that can teach them through words and music how to express themselves. My neurodivergent students teach me more than I could ever teach them. Thank you. From adversity to legacy, I grew up the oldest of 10 children. There was no money for music lessons. I'm humbled and honored to stand here on this stage. It was my bubbies that gave me money every birthday to save up, and I was able to get my first guitar. I taught myself to play on an out-of-tune piano with sticky keys. Like many of you here today, being here is a miracle. Music saved my life. It gave me hope. It gave me a way to express feelings that I had nowhere else to put them. Children now coming out of COVID, adults now need a place to put their feelings in their fingers, and music is the miracle that can heal our world, especially our children. I am so excited that from Dubai, I have found global partners that want to help me in this program, and I know that I'm leaving today with collaborators, which is why we're all here. So see me after I've made already great, great friends. Let's talk about how we can make change for every single one of the panelists' issues. And I wanted to introduce the Policy Tank. They're live streaming from India. From Education 2.0, because I have the opportunity to speak at both conferences, they have now united with me, and my mission is to put music into the hands of the poorest of the poor. And you can see these children here on the street learning 2+2 by volunteers. We are now trying to fundraise grants to bring music into the underserved schools of India. If you want to sponsor a school, if you want to help make a difference, talk to me, because you can help put music into the hands of children that could never have it. In a world of endless possibilities, no child should ever be denied the soul-saving gift of music. I am so excited to be here with all of these beautiful speakers. Can you all stand up with me? Can you all stand up with me here in the audience? And I'm going to ask our beautiful friends to play a song. And I want us all to sing a song together. And I think you might know this song. You can see the words over there. Does this song bring back memories? If you want to sway, you can sway, but we just have to sway. Music is the miracle that will save the world. And innovators, like beautiful teachers, each one of you, coming here today, thank you, Education 2.0, for bringing us together. Don't give up. Here we go, everybody. Oh, we don't have these, but we can still wave like this. Let's go like this. Keep in contact with this beautiful, beautiful panel. Read their books. Make a difference. Join us. Music is the miracle. Sing it with us. Want to make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're changing our own lives It's true, we'll make a brighter day, just you and me. Thank you, Education 2.0. Thank our beautiful, beautiful panel. One more round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you all for all you do. We want to hear about your stories. Thank you so much.